Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth monthly forecast for March 2024 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to share some standout details with you, but please stay with me. I am going to explore in much greater depth all the ins and outs, particularly relevant to your sign. Now, your two ruling planets are really at the heart of the action this month. But it's Pluto, newly arrived in your sign on the 21st of January, and it's linked to the spring equinox on the 20th, which is undoubtedly the most sensational moment of this month. It also links in a beautiful trine to Leo in your sector of related. Please stay with me for more. If you would like to ascend above this Zodiac broadcast and understand what's going on in your personal astrology based on your unique birth data, if you share with me your time, date and place, or date and place, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far and a much more intimate understanding of how to work with them and seize opportunities going forwards. In my special package of 30% off, you can also get your 12-month transit forecast. This is an analysis of the moving planets in the sky and how they're interacting with your unique blueprint. So really exciting. Please see the link below. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. And also please feel very welcome to comment and interact with me. So Aquarius, as you make your way into March, the Sun, Mercury, Saturn and Neptune are all lined up in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is a mutable sign, so it's very flexing, it's watery, can be very emotional, can be quite psychological. But for you, this represents house 2. So that's the foundational part of life. It can be our self-worth, it can be our values, and critically, it can be everyday money. But if you recall, last year on March the 7th, Saturn, your traditional ruler, moved into Pisces. And ever since then, Saturn has probably been influencing your view of all those areas, particularly if you're born more towards the beginning of Aquarius. Now, as February came to a close on the 28th, the Sun and Saturn connected exactly in a conjunction. This may have been a time when you really were thinking about those areas very seriously, or there may have been some blockage or inhibition or some kind of frustration, and there could be a sense of that as you enter this new month. But Jupiter, the planet of fortune, does provide some levitation right from the first day. It's linking magnificently to the Sun and also to Saturn, but also it's linking to the midpoint, which at the start of this month, that's the critical degree between the Sun and the Moon at 10 degrees in Capricorn. So stuff you've been doing behind the scenes for a long time, dedication, investment, research, sacrifice, perhaps at times feeling very underappreciated, can come back to you in a way which is good for you emotionally, but it can start to see dividends financially. And in fact, it's all, I feel, a lot to do with your ability to communicate, which is often a great strength of yours. But the retreat in North Node meets Chiron, and this is on the 5th, but they're actually within 3 degrees for the whole of this month. This can be a month when you regain a lot of confidence around your ideas and the expression of them. And then in week 2, your modern ruler starts to connect Uranus with the Sun, and that feeds into the super new moon of the 10th, which also coincides with Mercury leaving the sign of Pisces and moving into the fiery sign of Aries. That's going to be a critical day because on the 11th, then followed by the 22nd, Venus and Mars move into the sign of Pisces. And if you have been finding some parts of your foundation or some parts of your self-worth or some parts of your financial situation have come under pressure over the last year, but you've really dug in and shown a lot of resourcefulness, and perhaps also been very flexible and adapted, particularly around where you live, how you live there, how you work there, the rewards can come from the 11th. So it may seem it's all to do with the new moon, and it can in part be to do with that, but I think it's going to be Venus on the 11th, which really starts to engender an improvement in your situation. But there is a little bit of a gotcha, because as much as Venus can bring a new sense of rewards and a new sense of security into your situation, by the 21st, Venus is connecting to Saturn too. So it's kind of saying to you, be careful that you don't splash any new money that comes in too freely, because you could end up with a case of buyer's remorse. Also, it's possible that in a personal relationship, your attitude or values may clash with someone you're closely involved with. Despite that, the Sun aligns with Neptune from the 14th to the 19th. And if you are someone who enjoys a little bit of escapism, perhaps a nice glass of wine or a lovely film or a walk in nature, all of those things can be brilliant, and you could really trip the light fantastic across those days. But it's not the best of times to have too much sugar and basically overindulge, because your system probably won't appreciate it. And part of the reason for that is from the 22nd to the 27th, Venus and Jupiter forging an amazing link, but then if you feel in the mood to celebrate, it's going to be hard not doing it to the nth degree. But that brings us to the 20th, and the most stunning moment. The spring equinox this year not just ushers the Sun into the sign of Aries, it also is the start of the astrological calendar, and it brings in cardinal quadrant 1, the first 13-week segment of the year. So it's about new beginnings for us all, for sure. But for you, this is house 3. And that revival that I feel was nurtured by the North Node and Chiron becomes, and then also with Mercury moving on the 10th into Aries, becomes like furnace-like on the 20th, when that spring equinox, the Sun into Aries, links with Pluto in your sign. And if you are born at the start of Aries, this is really, really going to be very momentous. It's going to bring a lot of extra self-belief in, and a lot of conviction, potentially a lot of persuasion, and people are going to find you very hard to ignore. You know, whatever politics you might be caught up with in your work or a relationship, you're developing a greater authority. Also on that event, there's a brilliant link to the moon in Leo in your house of relating. So the moon in the 7th house can be very lucky. So the next 13 weeks for you in particular can bring some real good fortune. That brings us to the 22nd. Mars moves out of your sign, joins up with Venus. So to have Venus and Mars in your second house is also going to give you an appreciation of sensuality. The second house is very Tauran. So good food, good wine, perhaps splashing out on a few things that really take your fancy may be hard to resist if the finances are reviving. But the lunar eclipse, which occurs on the 25th, the micromoon, also links into Pluto in your sign. And that's very much about communication. The thing with communication, it's easy to say things, particularly for air signs, like obviously Gemini, Libra and Aquarius. The important thing is to say it with purpose, to have a meaning there. And one of the keys with Pluto, therefore, is it's really encouraging all Aquarius people, myself included, to really speak from the heart and really express deeply held views. Not in a way which dominates other people, but just in a way that means you're standing up what is important to you, in a way that perhaps with Pluto going through the 12th house, you may have withdrawn a little bit from interacting at times because it just seemed to be too much hassle. People may not have been very receptive, blah-de-blah. But now there is a glorious chance in this particular event over the next 6 months to express your emotional feeling with conviction, with a degree of delicacy, but most of all with sincerity. So your interactions with people are going to be very powerful. It could see you traveling. It may see you expanding your world quite a bit, making a lot of new contacts. If you are involved in publishing or writing or websites or any kind of media work, you're really going to be very, very busy, and it's going to be an extremely exciting time. But if none of that fits for you, for sure, even within your local community, things are going to become a lot livelier and more interactive. So this month may start off with a bit of a sticky moment. You may be a little bit concerned how things are going to evolve around your resources, but there is some real good news coming in as the month goes on.